Are you a Cancer Zodiac sign, or we like to call you Cancerians as well? Or do you know someone in your life who is? Well, this is the video for you because we are going to explore different characteristics of this zodiac sign, as well as essential oils and aromatherapy to help support and bring out the best in all our Cancerians. Now, someone who's accused of being a little bit crabby from time to time, Liz, how are you?
Grabby.
You being our local Cancerian,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
expecting big things from you today.
yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, I think I said in the Aries one. Obviously this applies to you, if you've got cancer anywhere in your birth chart, really. I it's my sunstein, but I think I'm more like my Aries rising sign. So I think if somebody's got Cancer rising, you might find this really interesting as well, and Cancer
Mm.
moon.
Now, what was really interesting is I've mentioned in a previous video when we were exploring one of the other zodiac signs that we often have a prototype of each zodiac sign in our mind. And although I know you're a Cancerian, I've got two Cancerians in my life who I see more, they live near me and they're more kind of in my social sphere. So we have more kind of interaction in that way. One thing I find really interesting, they're both male Cancerians, but in the groups that they exist within, they are both the matriarchs. Now, I'm not getting my genders incorrect and calling them aren't they the patriarchs? No. Cancer is a sign of the mother, and these two are like mother hens. They coordinate the group, they make sure the groups are well fed, they do that kind of nurturing, mothering aspect for their friends, for their family, for their social group, which I find really interesting. And this is, this brings me to the first oil that I think really helps to bring this out, and that's myrrh. Myrrh is a wise, wise oil. It's very, very feminine. I remember when we had our first chat about myrrh when we do our spotlight on one essential oil, and you were explaining, Liz, how myrrh is an oil that probably has a better history and a stronger history of use than good old frankincense. It seems to get all the attention these days. Myrrh really does, we look at what it does physically. It helps to heal wounds, whether we're using it for oral issues or just wounds on the skin. And just like she nurtures us as a physical oil, she also helps to bring out that nurturing feminine side as a spiritual oil as well. When I've worked with myrrh, it's given me taken me on journeys and given me flashbacks back to the burning times where those medicine women and the wise people at the time, the wise women, were executed for, you know, the caring and the giving that they had given for such a long time because it didn't align with the dominating church that was coming through at that time. And I think myrrh helps both male and female Cancerians connect back with that nurturing, mothering side, and not just be a physical nurturer, but even an emotional and a spiritual nurturer as well.
Yeah, I think the it's going to be an interesting one. This is because to let people behind the scenes. I don't know what Adam's going to say. Adam doesn't know what I'm going to say, and Myrrh is on my list. It will come up in medical astrology when we start talking about that. But I think Murr is absolutely correct. I've done another video on my own channel just this week, actually, about its effects on the etheric body, and I talk about how you can align it to the High Priestess. That it has not just like this mothering aspect, this divine feminine aspect, but also being able to see beyond the veil. And that's very much a Cancerian thing. I always say to people, to Cancerians, and they start talking about like knowing things. I always know things 2 weeks before they're going to happen. You feel it in your bones. And that is a very myrrh thing to be able to sort of ground that and know, yeah, it's like womb knowledge, if you like, and it's an uterine tonic. And of course, being the archetypical mother, the womb is important to Cancer, although we'll get more into that afterwards. So yeah, I completely agree.
And what's really interesting is Cancerians are ruled by the moon. And so that kind of connection with that intuition, they are renowned for being a more intuitive sign. And so also one thing I like to work with is a bit of an ancient tradition of associating different colored flowers to different planets. And so white flowers are associated with the moon. And then often with Cancerians as well. And I find Roman Chamomile, which I know is one of your absolute favorites in its gentleness and its kindness and its sweetness. It just allows us to be that really soft, kind person again. When, we live in a world where there is harshness, and the Cancerian realm is not just about the intuition and the mind, but it's about the home. It's about the safe haven. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your actual house. And for some people, their home, maybe when they're growing up, wasn't a safe haven. But I find that Cancerians are really good at creating an atmosphere or creating a safe haven or an inner circle where everyone feels supported and nurtured. And I think whenever you're diffusing or using Roman chamomile in any of those kind of aspects, it's just going to add to that as well. It allows that gentle kindness that sometimes, and we live in such a yang world where we're encouraged to, don't worry about them and just worry about yourself and you be the best and that lack of focus on community or the other. I think it's really nice for Roman chamomile that teaches us to, hey, be a little bit gentle on everyone else and be a little bit gentle on the earth as well. So I find combining Roman chamomile with a bit of myrrh brings in this really nice aspect of the Cancerian sign: intuitive, empathetic, kind, and creating that safe haven.
Yeah, again on my list. It'll be really important in the medical astrology. And I think when we're sort of thinking about sort of doctrine of signatures, which is what you're talking about with the colours of the plant, um, it comes from the family Compositae. And so it has like a corona in the middle, and then petals coming out, and actually you can decide which one you're looking at, Roman chamomile or German chamomile, just by looking at the corona, because they're different shapes. But within that corona, if you look really, really closely, what you'll see is they're not like petals, they're actually complete flowers. There's hundreds and hundreds of tiny complete flowers in the middle of composite plants, so things like calendula, asters, that kind of thing. But particularly with the chamomile, which is why you'll always see insects on them. But I think that idea of how everybody clusters round the centre is a very chamomile thing, but a very Cancerian thing. Anybody who feels like they feel a bit down, then they're heading over for a cup of tea at the Cancerian's house, and they know that there's going to be cake and biscuits and it'll be nice and warm, and the Cancerian will stop what they're doing. That is very much like the Compositae plant like archetype, really, that everyone clusters together around this central point, and the central point is Cancer.
I didn't know that about that central point, but that really does kind of bring that all together. I love that for sure. So Cancerians, caring, empathetic, worrying about everyone else, very heart-centered, very emotional. And this is where we start to get into, okay, well, what happens when they get a little bit unbalanced? So there are a few, I do know one female Cancerian apart from myself. This is more from my past. And she was renowned for, like, she's very kind, very sweet, very loving, but sometimes those waves of emotions get way too much. And a Cancerian who anyone in her flock is threatened, she'll fire up. She'll become that protective mother. I hear that pandas, these gentle, beautiful animals, are very soft and cuddly and fun. But if their babies are or their cubs are ever threatened, apparently the mothers get really friggin' fierce. And that's kind of what Cancerians can do. They can get that emotion where it then starts to drown them, overwhelm them, and they can be very, very angry. So this is where we can bring in another oil that has a white blossom, typically. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about eucalyptus. And remember that eucalyptus is 700 different species. There's many different essential oils, but most of the species of eucalyptus do have white blossoms. Now, although we're not getting the essential oil from the blossom, we're getting it from the leaf, there is still a bit of the link to that Cancerian energy there. Eucalyptuses have been used by the indigenous people of Australia to bring down fever, to cool the heat. So when the wateryness of the Cancerian sign, being a water sign, when the water starts to boil, then eucalyptus is a good one for helping to calm that down as well. It also, we know, it's a great one for the respiratory system. And when we're angry, when we're sad, when we're anxious, when any of those emotions start to get too much, what do we need to remember how to do? Just breathe. And I think Cancerians can really benefit from, because they are a water sign, connecting with the opposing element, air, reconnecting with their breath, focusing, recentering, and just steadying their emotions on those times where they can feel it about to get the better of them. And I just want to I want to point out here that I'm not saying that they should try and close down their emotions. It's their superpower, but we want their emotions to work for them, not against them. When it starts to work against them, eucalyptus might be a really great one to lean into.
That's really fascinating. I wouldn't have thought of that. Which eucalyptus would you lean into?
Probably Eucalyptus radiata or narrowleaf peppermint.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you said it. Yeah.
Yeah, would be a really great one. Although I do find, blue gum can be quite good, especially if you're going to say if like harsh words. It's really good at cooling the words. It works really well with the throat chakra. But yeah, probably radiata would be my first choice as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And as you know, I don't really have an affinity with eucalyptus. It being me being racist against all Australian oils, but yeah, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, radiata would work like that. Um, so yeah, I agree with the white flowers thing that you'd said about obviously chamomile, and for me, I think there's certain oils, and so I can obviously speak to this from a different dimension than I can from the other oils, because I can say, well, which ones make me feel most like a Cancerian? And I think the chamomile definitely does. Myrrh definitely does. And the other one that really does that is a white flower, and that's jasmine. You know,
Mm.
able to just like really calm down the worrying side and just sink into yourself. Because it is really quite a sensual sign, isn't it? We talk about how Taurians are very sensuous through the senses, but we're kind of through the emotions. Um, from a point of view of like looking at the archetype, and you're talking about the moods, I cannot imagine how any Cancerian would have moods. It's just very rude to say it. I'm being the moodiest person that there is. I think that one of the things when that moody side goes out of kilter, it's like you're the crab. Well, first of all, the crab comes to things that's sideways all of the time. You know, that's you could if you like think of the archetype that way and then listen to my work, it's always kind of going this way and then that way and that way. That's the way that we think, which is fine until the waves of the sea are going the opposite way, and then it's really, really turbulent. And I think in order to kind of get that flow, that just like going with the flow, chamomile goes just release into the flow and just and it calms the flow really. But jasmine just goes right there. Let's just sail with the flow, you know, that kind of headiness of taking the conscious mind out. It's really, really helpful. Yeah.
Mm. If I was being like exclusive and allocating one planet to one zodiac sign, I'd probably, for me personally, feel that Jasmine might be more of a Piscean because it's kind of euphoric, dreaminess kind of aspect to it. But no, I definitely get what you mean there as well. Another thing you talked about, the idea of the crab walking sideways. So for me, both Roman Chamomile and Eucalyptus work really well for the throat chakra. And sometimes Cancerians don't like to necessarily talk about something straight on. They'll kind of sidestep it or try to avoid conflict because they want to keep that nice, nurturing safe haven. And so, if you are, as a Cancerian, or you have a lot of Cancerian energy, you've got a lot of planets in Cancer, or your ascendant sign is Cancer, then and you find yourself being a bit of like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'll just kind of sidestep it. Then maybe Roman Chamomile, Eucalyptus, one or both could be really great for you as well. Now, in an earlier episode, I also introduced the idea that we have an opposing zodiac sign for each of the signs. So we have Cancerians that are all about our inner circle and our private life and our home. The opposing sign, 6 months later, is Capricorn. Now, they are about your public life, your work life, your what everyone knows in your outer circle about you. And sometimes we may need to bring a little bit of Capricorn into the Cancerian energy. When a Cancerian becomes unbalanced, they can retreat to their room, bring out their photo albums and start flicking through them and remembering how it used to be far better in the past and why can't I just go back to how it used to be? And this is where patchouli, I find, is a really great one. Patchouli is really great at helping us to bring us into the present. For me, it's a Capricorn oil in allowing us to remain focused, remain grounded, and remain kind of not that try and resort to that escapism and that fantasizing about the past and making it seem more positive than it is type of thing. So I feel if that Cancerian is kind of not in the present and is trying to escape into the past, I would recommend them making or doing some work with patchouli.
I'm Elizabeth Ashley, UK Director for the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy and founder of the Aromatic Mystery School, where essential oils meet the deeper, more mystical side of healing. Here you'll explore the spiritual, emotional and energetic dimensions of plants and learn how to weave them into your own rituals and well-being practices. If you're ready to work in a way that nourishes both your soul and your senses, join us at the Aromatic Mystery School. The link's right below.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, that is definitely a part of the archetype. I don't have that characteristic in my personality at all. Mine comes out in, I think my nostalgia comes out in china teacups, you know, and like and pink lace and stuff. It's quite a healthy outlet because I don't have this harping back to the past. But I do find that yes, if at any given time, if my brain is like sabotaging me, patchouli is so grounding and just kind of takes it out of the whatever is going on up here and into the physical body. So I agree totally that I would find that really a helpful oil. Yeah.
Now, you've been alluding to the medical astrology. It's a different approach to looking at zodiac signs, but when it comes to Cancerians, what part of the body and what does Cancerian govern?
Well, so I want to sort of just center that before you say it. It's not just an approach. This is how medicine was done until the 18th century across Europe. This is like, we talk about Ayurveda and we talk about TCM as if these are like really accepted ancient medical ways, but somehow medical astrology has kind of got subjugated to the woo. But actually this is exactly how medicine was seen. In fact, if you go to the doctors and when the doctor writes your prescription, he writes RX in your at the beginning of what he's writing, and that means retrograde. So every doctor even now associates with this. And you were talking about the way that a Cancerian goes back to the picture books and retires into their room. I think that there's sort of two aspects there that we can talk about. The first is that the room doesn't have to be a physical room. Cancerians have an invisible shell and we just disappear into it and it can be like in seconds. And I think I drive my husband mad with this because he's like, a second ago you were fine and you've gone. I can see that some things upset you. I don't even know what I said, what you saw, but you've gone. And so that's quite hard, I think, for people to live with. But I think the more important aspect of what you said is we don't necessarily look at picture books, we eat. And the biggest part, the sort of three weaknesses of the Cancerian archetype from a medical point of view. The first is breasts. So breasts can be problematic in terms of breast cancer, but even just right from being teenage girls, you know that as soon as the period comes, of course, like the whole period menstruation thing is of course wrapped up in Cancerian, divine feminine, all of that stuff, but the breasts become painfully inflamed and engorged and swollen because the third aspect that is Cancerian is the lymphatic system. So with a Cancerian, what you'll see is weight goes up, weight goes down. So anybody that watches my videos over time will go, yeah, she's having an Oprah day today. Like she's like, I can like go really, really big, and then suddenly it's gone again. And that will be because we comfort eat. So the first, because like people have love languages, don't they? Cancerians, definitely, their love language is food. You know, we cook for people. You know, if people come round, you will always have beautiful food. You know, we know the best restaurants, but probably we'll say, yeah, but let's eat before we go. And if you're upset, or if somebody who comes to you who is upset, there will be cake. You know, so the digestive system can really get under pressure with a Cancerian. So, and in particular, you were talking about how there is this nature of things becoming inflamed when we get angry. So I think you're quite right that, I mean, I don't think that I avoid confrontation. I'll have an argument with the door, you know, but but it will be a case of I will tolerate, 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 boom. And that is the Cancerian thing, to just be like, let it be, let it be, let it be, and let it stew. That, I mean, of course, stew, of course, is a Cancerian word. It's food related. And so chamomile soothes everything down. So things that you'll see with a Cancerian person, when we were talking about digestion, it's not really the lower part of the digestion. It's like not like constipation and stuff like that. It's acid reflux, and indigestion and those kind of things that happen there. So chamomile's so good for going like soothe the mind and soothe the body. I'm never without chamomile tea. I'm never without chamomile oils, and it even feels like a Cancerian person, I think, doesn't it? It's whimsical and kind of like an English country garden. That's what we're like. But then, so the other oil that kind of ties into what I was just saying, and incidentally, I just want to stress that I'm not going to talk about safety in these, but as we go, you'll see the cards pop up as we go, and they're pointing to the deeper videos about that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think the other oil that's really important for a Cancerian is fennel. And fennel is quite difficult to use, and it has lots of contraindications. So if you decide to take on this information and you don't know that much about fennel oil, watch the deeper video and get like tuned in for it. The reason why I say about fennel is it's got two sort of aspects, that it is phytoestrogen. So of course, estrogen is a big mothering aspect. You can't get pregnant if you've got imbalances in estrogen, and but also know that you can't really stay pregnant when you're using fennel. So we have this balance. But the other thing that it's really good for is the digestive system. So indigestion, bloating, all of that stuff. And then also on the lymphatic system, because it's diuretic. So it's very good for kind of flushing out, especially for younger people who are menstruating and that week before really blow up. Fennel is absolutely fantastic for that. Yeah.
Interesting. So, so just to clarify, the parts of the body that are governed by Cancerians are the breasts, the stomach, and then the lymphatic system.
Yeah, not just the stomach, the whole digestive system. But what you see go off kilter is the upper part of the digestive system. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
it's very and it's very, very stress related. So it's hormone related, obviously, but also stress related, and particularly if you get angry. Yeah.
I'm guessing as well, we talk about different ways to use essential oils, and you're a big fan of the bath, probably because you're submerging yourself in water. Do you think, baths with oils like maybe Roman Chamomile or Patchouli or something like that would be a really nice way for Cancerians just to rebalance and reharmonize themselves when they're feeling a bit out of whack?
Yeah. Also teas. I mean, we're talking about essential oils here, but teas are very good because they have like direct relationship with like the digestion and the lymphatic system they're actually going to move through. So teas are really good. Bathing, yes, and also using topically, so creams and lotions, massage oils, and just anything that kind of makes you feel like you've been looked after. So, like the stroking aspect really will encourage the oils to work even stronger, because that's a Cancerian thing as well. Touch, of course.
So those are our favorite essential oils when it comes to working with Cancerians. But remember, we're just here to point you in the right direction, and then you journey off on your little journey, whether you go directly or sideways like the crab. And we would love to know in the comment section which oils you find work really well with a Cancerian, or if there's a Cancerian in your life, do they have a favorite that they're always blooming using? Let's all learn from each other. Now, remember that as this video ends, you'll see playlists and other videos appear up on the screen. They're the other oils that you can explore and have a look at and go on a deeper dive. This is just to give you a little tasting plate of the smorgasbord of essential oils that we recommend for Cancerians. We'll be back next week when we explore the next sign in the zodiac. Until then, take care and blessed be.
Bye-bye.
Whoa. One more thing before you go. Hopefully, you got a little bit more excited about essential oils in this episode, and you may be running off to go buy some more. Now, before you do that, I want to talk to you about quality of essential oils. Did you know that around the world there is no regulation or governance about the labeling of essential oils? Anyone can call an essential oil pure, natural, organic, and it doesn't have to be. In fact, 75% of what's sold as lavender around the world is not even from the lavender plant. This can be ineffective in an oil, but it can also mean that the oil can be harmful for you. Not only physically, but metaphysically, it's not going to work well either. So I went on a journey to find the best essential oils that I can trust, and I found doTERRA to be absolutely amazing. Not only do they test all their essential oils, but they have an independent third party test them at the end of their journey to make sure only in the bottle is what nature intended. However, if you want to get doTERRA essential oils, don't just jump on their website. Reach out to me and I'll give you a discount code so you can get them at a cheaper price. But I don't just want you getting essential oils. I want you to learn how to use them each and every day for the body, mind, heart, and for the spirit as well. So when you become one of my customers, you get free access to a lifetime discount code. We have online portals where you can learn more, and we have giveaways and freebies and all different things like that. So I'd love you to join my wellness community. Simply click on the links below and let's get started with you using real essential oils as nature intended.